Hi guys, this time I would like to talk about installing EasyOS to a USB flash drive. Now there are plenty to buy. I'll just show you some of the ones I've got. You really do need to get a good quality flash drive. I often buy the SanDisk brand. This is a SanDisk Ultra. Okay. Going up a big step, this is a SanDisk Extreme. Yesterday I went out to local electronics shop and I bought the cheapest one I could find just to show you the difference. Now this is a Alexa brand. It costs 13 Australian dollars and it's 32 gigabytes. Now I don't recommend these because the controller chip that's in these is very, very minimal. The better ones have what we call wear leveling, which means that they will write right through the drive. Rather than just hammering the same location all the time, they will spread the writes through the drive, and thus the drive will last a lot longer. And also the better ones also have recovery, so that if a location fails, they keep memory in reserve and they bring in the reserve memory. So it means that the flash drive will degrade very gracefully. Now you can get what we call SSDs, which is solid state drive, and they have the best controller chips of all. Now I've got one here. This was a very cheap one. SSDs have gone up in price. I got this about 3 years ago, 480 gigabytes, and it only costs $59 Australian, which is pretty good. I'm looking at prices recently, and they're like $200 for 1 terabyte external SSDs. The actual difference in speed is incredible. This little cheap one, you're probably looking at about 6 megabytes per second write speed. The Extreme is pretty good. You're looking at about this is the SanDisk Extreme. You're looking at around about 140 megabytes per second. And then you go up to one of these things, proper SSD, and you're looking at 300, even more megabytes per second. This is the write speed. Read speed is much faster, and it makes a difference in usage. Now, what I'd like to do is just show you, firstly, if you're going to write EasyOS to one of these flash drives, you've got to download the drive image file. Now, it's on the internet, and I've got here the internet. Where are we? There we go. There's the website. biblio.org very kindly hosts all the EasyOS files. It's a university establishment. And there you can see Easy 7.4.1 AMD64.img. That's the drive image file. And you just download that. It's around about a little bit over 1 gigabyte in size. Having downloaded it, you've then got to know how to write it to the USB drive. Now it can be any one of these. It can be from this little simple thing like this up to an SSD. I've got some even bigger ones. I've got a SanDisk SSD which is 4 terabytes. Very high quality, and it'll probably last me a lifetime. You can also install EasyOS to that if you want to and boot up on it. Now I use the word boot. Booting is just a slang word used in Linux. It just means, any computer nerd will know this word. It just means start the computer using this operating system that's on the flash drive or whatever. So we just say we boot the operating system. Now I'm unfortunately going to be putting in lots of little slang words as I don't realise that people who don't know much about the technology of computers will probably miss the meaning. So I'll try to avoid that. Anyway, if you download this image file, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it to the flash drive. Actually, I'll bring back that again. There's another website on my EasyOS.org. I've got various installation articles, web pages, and this actually describes a little program called EasyDD, which is something I created. It'll work on any Linux distribution. If you're running Windows, this is one that I have used, USB image tool. I've got a download site here, but there are some others that will work on Windows as well. And they're specifically for writing one of these drive image files to a USB drive or an SD card for that matter as well. Okay, so having got the right tool, in EasyOS we have this EasyDD tool ready to use. So I'll use that as the demonstration. And I've downloaded the drive image file, okay? And I've opened a terminal. Opening a terminal is just a matter of, there's a quick keyboard shortcut. You just push the back tick key and it opens a terminal. But you can also do it from the right-click menu. So open the terminal in that same location where that drive image file is. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug in this little cheapie, and we'll just see what the write speed is like. So we'll do that. I've got to have a little adapter for that. I need a little adapter because I've only got a USB. This is only a USB 2, and my computer has a, here we go, as a USB-C socket. So I've got to make a little adapter for that. And because of limited number of USB sockets, I have to unplug the power charging. Okay, plug in the little USB flash drive. And now, and what you should see down there, see it appeared down there. Now, what you're seeing down there is all the drives. Those ones are all internal. That is my external big 4 terabyte USB drive that I keep plugged in all the time. I use it for my daily working. And what you'll notice is the numbers. SDA is just the name of the drive. So any drive will have a number designation to identify it. The one that I've plugged in, this little Lexar US flash drive, that's called SDB. And the numbers are partition 1, partition 2, partition 3 on SDA and so on. And on the Lexar we've got partition 1 and partition 2. Those partitions are the same as what we call drive C and drive D, etc. in Windows. They refer to it as drive C and D, but it's really a partition in the drive. Okay, so we use numbers in Linux. So anyway, I plugged it in, and let's use the EasyDD utility. Now EasyDD has a graphical interface or just a command line interface. I could just run it as a graphical interface. That web page I showed you explained the different modes of using it. If I just run it though in the terminal, the EasyDD, and I'll type in the name of that drive that I want to drive image file. Okay, and enter. Okay, now I plugged in the USB stick. Okay, this is where you've got to be very careful because you've got to choose the right drive that you're going to write to. And you can see there that SDB is the Lexar USB flash drive, so it's pretty clear. And this is where you have to be very alert that you don't accidentally wipe out your main hard drive. So 3, okay, enter, and there's a verification. Are you you check very carefully? Yeah, okay. So check very carefully. Okay, otherwise you're gonna wipe out the drive if it's the wrong one. Okay, well we are okay on that. So now we'll do enter to actually to write the image file to it. Now remember, this is a very slow flash stick, and let's do that, shall we? Let's press enter. Notice above there it said that if the write speed is less than 7 megabytes per second, it is recommended that you use a faster drive. Now we have got a really cheapy little one, but notice the write speed there, it's 15.7. You will find it'll drop down a bit though. It'll get pretty close to what we consider as not very good. If it's too slow, it becomes a little bit, it slows down your usage of Linux running on that flash drive. If you're using a proper, like an SSD, 300 megabytes per second, then no worries, everything happens in a flash. Quite incredible. Unfortunately, even these SanDisk Extremes are very expensive. They've climbed in price. I was looking at JB Hi-Fi, which is an electronics store, just yesterday, and I was shocked at how prices have climbed up. I think there's a bit of a shortage of flash memory at the moment, maybe, but they are very good. The thing is, would this little cheapie do the job? Well, not necessarily, because it's designed really just for storing your photos. It's not really designed for lots and lots of reads and writes. Well, reads are okay, but it's the writes. So if you're storing stuff on there and erasing and putting in new files and so on and so forth, it's going to wear out the little flash stick very fast. Whereas an SSD can withstand it with the special controller chip that it's got, these little cheapies, not so much. And what's going to likely happen is you'll start getting errors on the drive, and that will start to cause mysterious issues. Suddenly something will go wrong and you'll say, what's gone wrong? What's happened? Something is corrupted and you don't know what it is. That's the risk you run with these little cheap things. However, we're getting there. Look, there's it's about 1 gigabyte, so we're you can see there we're getting there. It's dropped down to 8.2 megabytes per second. So I might as well hang around, run this video long enough so you can see it's all written to the USB stick. Now, once it is written, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to tell the computer to actually boot up from that USB stick. That is it's fairly easy to do. You've got to, there's a certain hotkey you press when you turn on the computer. There's two different hotkeys. One of them just starts a selection menu where it'll find the different things that the computer is capable of booting up on, and it will find the flash stick. And there's another, which is the setup, the BIOS or the UEFI setup, which is activated by another hotkey. And look, successful. So what that did was it flushed the cache after having written to the drive, and then it read it back again to verify that it was written correctly. So that's a good sign anyway for starting off. The reading back is a fair bit faster. So notice up there the write speed was settled down at 8.1. So it's still usable. Now, if we have a look at what's been written to that, actually we'll just unplug it and replug it, just because I want to be sure it's updated itself yeah, it will have updated anyway, it should have done, but I'll just plug it in again so we can see it updated. There we go. Now, the two partitions. So it's one drive, but there are two partitions. Now, the first one is what we call VFAT. It's actually FAT32, and that's actually a partition that is used in a file system that is used in Windows. It's also used in Linux. Here, the second partition is an ext4 file system, and that is specifically for Linux. Windows doesn't understand that particular file system type, although you can apparently get a driver for it to run in Windows. Now, notice the size of that one, 47 megabytes, and that one is about 1 gigabyte, okay? The actual drive is 32 gigabytes. Now, what's going to happen when you first start the operating system booting up from the flash drive, it will automatically increase the size of that ext4 partition to fill the entire drive. That'll happen automatically. Unlike booting up from a live CD, which most Linux people will do, you've still got to install it. I mean, you boot up from the live CD, but you can't really run it very much from that. You've got to install it somewhere in the internal hard drive. But this is completely different. This is already fully installed in the flash drive. So you can just boot up on that flash drive and just use it as a fully installed system. And in fact, you can take that same flash drive and plug it into a different computer and boot up on that. And it's self-contained. So it's not going to impact the host computer at all. Everything is stored within the flash drive. And that's great. And something else I'll just mention briefly, it also has what we call hardware profiling, where it will remember the different settings on the different computers. So you set up the whatever, sound or whatever, and you boot it up on a different computer, it will remember all the settings for sound or whatever on that computer. So you can plug it into different computers, you can go to work and plug it into your work computer, and take it home, plug it into your home computer, and boot it up. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Just looking at these two partitions, the first one has a bootloader. It's what we call a bootloader. Now, if you've used Linux at all, you'll know about Grub bootloader. There's another one called Refind. This is somewhat less known. It's called Limine. And there's a little configuration file. I'll just click on that so you can see the content of it. Mostly Linux 2, you single click to open things rather than double clicking. And that's just a menu. I'll very briefly mention that this is the menu for booting up the EasyOS on the flash stick. But you can add more entries on there. You can actually have it so that it will boot Windows. It can be a menu of different choices. You can boot up many of the internal operating systems as well, just from this menu. So although you're starting up on the flash drive, you can have a menu appearing initially and actually start up any one of the internally installed operating systems as well. And it's a bit of a diversion, that. So that's the first partition. Has the boot loader. The second partition has actually EasyOS installation. Now this is really interesting because there's a folder there, single click, remember, and it's got 3 files. EasyOS consists of just 3 files. The great thing about that is it makes updating very easy. When you go to update, if you're running this flash drive and later on you say I want to update, what you do is you just go over to here, update, you click on that and it will download the updated 3 files. And it's like an atomic update, atomic transaction in finance, where you're just replacing 3 files and that's it, you've updated. Not like updating individual packages that most Linux distributions do. So it's pretty neat. Now what's going to happen after we boot up that flash drive? This will be populated with a lot more files. And I'll just make it one technical point too. That EasyOS gets moved into another folder and gets renamed with the version number inserted into it. So we know specifically that EasyOS rather, is for this particular version that we've booted up, version of EasyOS. Because EasyOS has a mechanism where you can roll back. You can roll back to earlier versions. You can roll forward to the latest version. That's another story, of course. So there we are. We're ready to go, ready to boot it up. Now I can't boot it up now because it'll end this video. I'll have to take a snapshot, a video recording of the screen when we're starting up. But that's the essence of it. Now I can't think of anything else particular to tell you at this point in time, so I'll just. I hope you found this interesting. I'm trying not to keep these videos too long. This one is probably going on a little bit longer than I would have liked. So notice the little flashing light down there. That's telling me it's recording. So I'll just